Hello, Namaste, welcome back to my channel. This is 𝗦𝗛𝗔𝗛 and welcome back to my channel 𝗦𝗛𝗔𝗛 Stock Analyst. So I've changed the name and also wish you all a very happy Diwali. Wish that this next year, coming Diwali, it brings all the happiness and prosperity and joy to all of you. Alas, so we'll start with this little tidbits about the agriculture commodities, because that is where I find that very in short to medium term, I find a kind of a rally in the agricultural commodity. So I just, in the context of what all is happening in the world, as we had last week also we had come out and told that things can be continue to remain dull, the markets remain nowhere, as we can see that US Fed continues to increase that interest rates, and that is what the expectation is, that in the November also they will be doing another 75 bips hike in the interest rate. And in the background of all this, as you know, that currently that conflict between Ukraine and Russia is going towards very you can say intensity of that conflict increased over last 1 week. If you would have heard and seen that missile strikes and all these things, and there is currently a kind of a what do you call, the final front or the final battle is preparation for the final battle is ongoing as far as the Kharkovskaya dam. There is a hydropower station, Kharkovskaya, which is on the Dnieper River of it is in the Kherson region of this Ukraine, which is currently the part of this Kherson region is under Russia's control, and this hydroelectric power station is also under Khakovskaya hydroelectric power station. You can see all the details about that. It's a huge, one of the biggest hydropower station and the dam in that full region. And you will be surprised that Kherson region, why I am giving you little background about why agriculture commodities look to me the next rally point, is that this Kherson region has around 2 million hectares of the agricultural land, cultivable, good fertile soil agricultural land. So it is one of the biggest, I think it is the biggest as far as that agricultural zone in Ukraine is concerned. And also it, because of that huge big Dnieper river and this dam, there are 2 canals for irrigation canals. So majority of this area is irrigated by these canals. So if any damage happens to this dam, then you can see that, and more than 54% of this agricultural land of this 2 million hectares of Kherson region, generally they produce around the cereals, that is wheat, corn and soya bean. So I think you can see that if the way the battle fronts are drawn now, the battle lines are drawn now, and the intense negotiations or the fight, or you can say also parallelly, is happening on for this particular control of this full region, Kherson region and dam. So charges and counter charges, so if any damage happens to this dam, as I told you that it's it's one of the most fertile region, more than 2 million hectares of the land is agricultural land. It is agriculture is cultivated there, and 54% is for the 3 crops only, and winter crops, particularly right now what is sowing on is the winter crops. You can see the sowing would start for this winter season, wheat, particularly wheat and rye. So if this, the way that everyone is giving inflammatory speeches from all the sides, that the dam can be under the danger, under the instant danger. I mean, you can say that if something happens, there can be a huge fight over this dam, an hydroelectric power station. So if some damage because of some bombing and missiles and all these things, attacks and counter attacks, then you can see a huge area inundated with this flood of this dam's water, which can take not less than 20-24 days to recede and come back to the level. But because of this, you can see that majority of the land can get inundated, and the crops or whatever is there, it can become, at least for this season, at least for this the sowing and everything, can be destroyed. So in view of this, means this is the background, and also I see that generally this agricultural commodities, which you will see that because of this kind of a conflict, because Ukraine is one of the biggest agricultural exporter, particularly the wheat exporter, and in that recent view, in India also heavy rains continued to lash even till this Diwali, you can say that. So that extended rainfall season has also kind of damaged some crops, and already the India has stopped or restricted the export of rice. So what I see is that around 10 to 15% of the price increase in most of these agricultural commodities, particularly cereals, means wheat, rice, corn, soya. So this I believe that you can watch out for, you can look into, because for the commodities, the rally and the energy, because of the continued US interest rate hike, US FED, so that area, as far as this, right now the investment is concerned, it is killed kind of, you don't going to see any price increase in those of this, only that going up and down within a range. So range bound price movement of the commodities, but generally this agriculture commodities, because of the world over whatever this happening, and this particular Russia-Ukraine conflict going in a very intense zone, so that is where you can see that this wheat, rice, corn, I see around 10 to 15% of the price increase. I will just share the chart so that you can understand. Talking about this particular aspect, you can see that this is the wheat chart in US dollar per bushels, it is called. So currently it is say 838. I can see immediately, because of this Ukraine Russia, if something news comes for this Khakovskaya dam on this some kind of a battle, it can immediately reach to 935. So you can see around 10%, 10-12% of these things increase. Now look at the rice. Look at soybean also. Look at soybean, it is consolidated around this level, but suddenly this kind of, with this heavy rains and some kind of a water related problems, the globally everything gets affected. It can just, touch, it can one spike and $14.78 per bushels. So another 10 to 12% of this. Then rice I will show you, because I don't see much movement in the other commodities and energy. So that is the reason. But because of this kind of a standoff between Russia and Ukraine over this Khakovskaya dam, and Ukraine being one of the major exporter, and I don't think so Russia will now allow, even though they had negotiated, right, first round of the grain exports from Ukraine in June, July was negotiated by UN and everybody, and Russia had allowed. But I think the current way, the how it stands, the attitude of Ukraine and Russia, I don't think so Russia is softening down, is going to allow any more such kind of a relaxation for export of from Ukraine side grains. So that is also going to create all kinds of bad sentiments and demand and supply issues, supply disruptions again. So you can see that, rice is is bottomed, or you can say that it's around its bottom of $16, $16.38 per ton. Okay, and already India has restricted the rice exports. So any the new crop from India is generally rice is not grown in the winter season. So whatever this now you will see after post Diwali, the harvesting happens of whatever is and then you will get the data of how much the rice production has happened, or there is a miss of that or increase or whatever it is. So depending on that also, so taking all this into consideration, I believe then in the short to medium term you can see even that rice also spiking to say $18, $17.8. So another 10 to 12% of the increase in the. So that is what I just wanted to share my thoughts regarding the agriculture commodities and give you a little background regarding why I believe it's happening like this way. Because generally, other than that, there is not much kind of a positive what do you call boost for the market. So markets is continue to remain in the knots, as I call it, not here, not there. And that's it from my side. I just wanted to share some of my these thoughts with you. So that's the reason I just came out with this particular agriculture commodity. And that's it from my side, and we'll see you once again next week with some new idea, new concepts. Till that time, ciao from Neeraj from Moscow, and love you all.